Forget everything you know about hopeful sci-fi. No Federation is coming to save us. No peaceful alien alliance is waiting in the stars. In this universe, your options are: serve a decaying corpse god, get eaten alive by 1,000,000,000,000 giant space insects, or lose your soul to literal demons. Welcome to Warhammer 40k, the most brutal, unforgiving universe ever created. Today, we are breaking down the entire lore for beginners, from the tragic civil war that broke reality to the current galactic apocalypse. Strap in, because it's about to get incredibly grim. Imagine a universe where there are no happy endings, no peaceful alien alliances, and absolutely no hope for a better tomorrow. This is the universe of Warhammer 40,000, set in the terrifying expanse of the 42nd millennium. If you are brand new to this setting, the most important thing to grasp is the franchise's iconic, definitive catchphrase: in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Humanity in this era does not live in a clean, high-tech utopia like Star Trek or Star Wars. Instead, trillions of human beings are trapped as cogs inside a brutal, hyper-authoritarian space empire known as the Imperium of Man. This massive regime is suffocating under its own bureaucratic weight and paralyzed by an intense fear of change. Humans are surrounded on all sides by nightmarish alien monsters, mutant rebels, and a literal mind-bending demons pouring out from a parallel dimension. At the absolute center of this crumbling empire sits Earth, now radically renamed Holy Terra. The oceans have been boiled away, and the entire surface is covered in massive Gothic cathedral cities called hive cities, where billions live in squalor. Deep within the Imperial Palace, sitting upon a colossal, continent-sized life-sustaining machine called the Golden Throne, is the Emperor of Mankind. To the brainwashed citizens of the Empire, he is worshipped as a literal god. But the horrific, closely guarded truth is that he is a silent, decaying, psychic corpse. He has been trapped on this mechanical throne for over 10,000 years. He cannot speak, cannot move, and his body is a withered skeleton. Yet, his immense psychic mind is the only thing keeping humanity from total extinction, acting as a lighthouse in the cosmic dark to guide human spaceships through the treacherous void of space. To keep this machine running and his mind alive, the Imperium forcibly sacrifices 1,000 psychic humans to the throne every single day. To truly understand how this magnificent, horrific universe got so dark, we have to look backward at the tragic history that broke it. Long before this modern nightmare, during a period called the Age of Technology, humanity experienced a magnificent golden age. We successfully explored the farthest reaches of the galaxy, engineered sentient artificial intelligence, and built technological marvels that could rewrite reality itself. However, that society violently collapsed when our AI servants rebelled, and massive, reality-tearing cosmic storms isolated human worlds from one another for 5 millennia, leaving mankind vulnerable to alien predators and eternal decay. Eventually, a mysterious, ultra-powerful psychic leader stepped out of the shadows of Earth's history, known simply as the Emperor. He single-handedly united the warring techno-barbarian tribes of Earth, and used his unmatched scientific genius to create 20 superhuman generals called the Primarchs. These Primarchs were his genetically engineered son, each blessed with a fraction of his own immense strength, intellect, and psychic charisma. Together, the Emperor, his sons, and their campaign to reclaim the stars, purge hostile alien threats, and reunite the shattered remnants of humanity under a single secular empire. For a brief moment, it genuinely looked like mankind would conquer the galaxy and ruin permanent peace. But cosmic, malicious forces were watching from the shadows of a parallel dimension made entirely of raw psychic energy and raw emotion, known as the Warp. Inside this chaotic ocean lived the Chaos Gods, 4 immensely powerful, malevolent entities named Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh, who feed entirely on negative mortal emotions like rage, betrayal, despair, and excessive greed. The Chaos Gods despised the Emperor's secular vision because it threatened to starve them of the mortal worship and negative energy they needed to survive. To destroy the Emperor's dream, the Dark Gods pulled their power and whispered dark promises into the mind of his most trusted, favorite son, a Primarch named Horus, whom the Emperor had recently promoted to War Master of all his armies. They corrupted Horus's loyalty, blinding him with jealousy, a fear of being forgotten, and a false vision of a future where his father abandoned him. Horus successfully convinced half of his superhuman Primarch brothers and their respective Space Marine legions to turn their weapons against their own kin, sparking a catastrophic, galaxy-spanning civil war known as the Horus Heresy. This brutal conflict tore brotherhoods apart, turned entire sectors into nuclear ash, and culminated in a desperate, tragic duel aboard Horus's flagship directly above Earth. The Emperor ultimately slew his corrupted son, but was mortally wounded in the process. To prevent his immediate death, his loyal followers hooked his broken, dying body up to the Golden Throne. With the Emperor reduced to a silent monument, humanity panicked. They quickly forgot his teachings of science, secularism, and progress. Instead, they turned him into a god to cope with the trauma of the betrayal, creating a massive, terrifying galactic church where any form of scientific questioning or political disagreement results in immediate execution. The dream of an enlightened human empire died, replaced by 10,000 years of stagnant, terrified survival. For 10,000 agonizing years, the universe has remained in a state of stagnant, decaying survival. But recently, the lore finally kicked into overdrive, moving forward into the 42nd millennium, and the status quo went from a slow death to an absolute cosmic catastrophe. The supreme leader of the Chaos Forces, a warlord named Abaddon the Despoiler, launched his 13th major invasion and managed to completely destroy a key fortress planet named Cadia. Cadia was incredibly important because it housed ancient alien obelisks that acted as a literal psychic dam holding back the madness of the warp. When Cadia shattered, the psychic dam broke. A massive purple scar of raw, reality-tearing warp energy rippled completely across the galactic plane. This catastrophic anomaly is known as the Great Rift, or the Psychiatric Maledictum. The Great Rift physically tore the human empire completely in half. On one side, you have the Imperium Sanctus, where worlds can still see the psychic lighthouse of Earth, allowing them to communicate and coordinate their armies, even if it is incredibly difficult. On the other side lies the Imperium Nihilus, a pitch-black frontier where the light of Earth cannot pierce. Millions of human planets in this zone were left completely isolated, stranded in total darkness, and left entirely to the mercy of brutal alien invasions and demonic incursions without any hope of reinforcements. Yet, in humanity's darkest hour, a final baseline of hope emerged. One of the Emperor's few remaining loyal sons, a tactical and bureaucratic genius named Reposted Guilliman, was successfully resurrected from a 10,000-year stasis sleep through a dangerous alliance of alien sorcery and human technology. When Guilliman opened his eyes and looked at the modern Imperium, he was utterly horrified by what his father's empire had become. He deeply despised the forced religion, the rampant corruption, and the oppressive fear. However, with the entire galaxy actively burning around him, he had no choice but to take absolute control as Lord Commander. He launched the Indomitus Crusade, the largest military mobilization humanity had seen since the mythic days of the Great Crusade. To fight back the dark, he unleashed a secret weapon, the Primaris Space Marines. These are newly engineered, heavily upgraded super soldiers who are taller, stronger, and far more mentally resilient than standard Space Marines. With this new army, Guilliman began cutting a bloody path through the Great Rift to save humanity's forgotten worlds. To fully understand the stakes of the present-day lore, you need to understand the terrifying array of factions that Guilliman and his Space Marines are forced to fight on a daily basis. This is not a simple good versus evil story. It is a brutal, chaotic, free-for-all battle for absolute survival. Here is who is currently tearing the galaxy apart: the forces of chaos. These are the ultimate traitors, the Space Marines who turned their backs on the Emperor 10,000 years ago during the Horus Heresy, alongside endless, nightmare hordes of horrific demons. They do not fight for territory, resources, or political power. They fight to tear down the fabric of physical reality itself. They want to pull the entire material universe directly into the warp, transforming existence into a permanent playground of madness, mutation, and eternal torment. Chaos is powered by the four dark gods, each representing a different aspect of mortal corruption. There is Khorne, the god of blood and skulls, who demands endless slaughter. Tzeentch, the architect of fate, who controls mutation, sorcery, and political betrayal. Nurgle, the plague lord, who spreads despair, rot, and disease. And finally, Slaanesh, the prince of excess, who thrives on dark pleasures, pride, and agony. Together, their mortal armies are led by Abaddon the Despoiler, a warlord obsessed with launching black crusades to march on Holy Terra, overthrow the Golden Throne, and drag humanity's souls into hell. The Tyranids. Imagine a terrifying, endless locust swarm from the empty void outside our known galaxy. The Tyranids are not a civilization. They are a single, massive collective consciousness known as the Hive Mind, controlling trillions of biological monsters simultaneously. They do not care about political power, planetary territory, technology, or gold. They only want one thing: biomass. They view every single living organism, plant, and ocean on every planet they touch as nothing more than food. When a Tyranid hive fleet invades a planet, The sky turns black with millions of winged beasts, while the ground crawls with scythe-limbed monsters. They deploy biological weapons that melt flesh and toxic spores that choke the atmosphere. Once a planet's defenders are completely overwhelmed, the Tyranids literally drink the world dry, stripping away its atmosphere and oceans, leaving behind nothing but a dead, barren rock. They were an unstoppable evolutionary nightmare. Every time you kill a Tyranid, the hive mind learns from the defeat, genetically engineering its next batch of organisms to be bigger, tougher, and immune to whatever weapon you just used. The Necrons. These are ancient, soulless, robotic space mummies made of a self-repairing living metal called necrodermis. 65 million years ago, long before humans even evolved, the Necrons were an organic race trapped in brief, painful lives, desperate for immortality. They were tricked by cosmic star gods into trading their frail, fleshy bodies for immortal mechanical shells. The tragedy is that while the rulers kept their minds, the billions of ordinary Necron citizens lost their souls and free will, reduced to mindless robotic drones. After winning a catastrophic ancient war, the Necrons went into a deep slumber inside massive underground vaults called Tomb Worlds. Now, in the 42nd millennium, these Tomb Worlds are waking up across the galaxy. The Necron Lords are highly annoyed to find that younger, primitive races like humans have built messy cities on top of their ancient territory. Armed with Gauss weapons that can literally disintegrate a target molecule by molecule, and led by their ultimate ruler, the Silent King. The Necrons are determined to purge the galaxy of all organic life and reclaim their rightful galactic empire. The Orcs. Massive, green-skinned alien barbarians. Orcs are biologically engineered for pure violence. They do not feel fear. They do not feel pain the way humans do. And they literally reproduce via fungal spores. Meaning, if you shoot an orc, his body releases thousands of microscopic spores into the dirt, guaranteeing a brand new army of orcs grow out of the ground a few months later. They do not have a grand political strategy. They love fighting so much that if they cannot find an enemy, they will happily beat each other to death for fun. What makes the orcs truly terrifying is their subconscious psychic field, known as the Wah energy. This field allows their ramshackle technology to work entirely on the power of their own imagination. Orc weapons are made of literal scrap metal and garbage that should jam instantly. But if an orc believes a gun works, the psychic field forces reality to bend and the gun fires. If they paint a vehicle red, it actually drives faster, because every orc knows red ones go faster. Right now, they are uniting under a massive, cybernetically enhanced prophet named Gazgul Fraka, who is gathering billions of orcs into a galactic riot just for the joy of a good fight. The Eldari, a highly psychic, ancient race of space elves. The Eldari ruled the galaxy for millions of years with unmatched technology and grace. However, their immortality and complete lack of hardship led to their downfall. They fell into extreme hedonism, chasing darker and more intense sensations for centuries. This massive, empire-wide wave of unchecked pride, depravity, and dark psychic energy eventually coalesced in the warp, trigger spawning the birth of the fourth Chaos God, Slaanesh. The moment Slaanesh woke up, the god released a psychic scream that instantly devoured the souls of trillions of Eldari, wiping out their empire in a single second. Today, the survivors are a tragic, deeply divided and dying species. Some live on massive, planet-sized starships called craft worlds, using mystical soul stones to capture their spirits when they die, so Slash cannot eat them in the afterlife. Others live in a dark hidden city inside the Warp's raiders, torturing other species just to feed off their agony and prolong their own lives. Because their birth rates are incredibly low, they cannot fight open wars. Instead, they use psychic foresight, hit-and-run tactics, and extreme manipulation, often tricking the Imperium into fighting their battles for them to preserve a single Eldari life. If every other faction in Warhammer 40k represents pure gothic darkness, the Tau are a closest thing to a modern, high-tech anime faction. They are a young, blue-skinned alien race expanding incredibly fast across the eastern fringe of the galaxy. Unlike the ancient, superstitious Imperium that fears new technology, the Tau completely embrace scientific progress, using advanced artificial intelligence, sleek anti-grav tanks, and massive, heavily armoured, pilotable mecha suits that can obliterate entire armies from miles away. What makes them unique is their unifying ideology, known as the greater good. The Tau believe that all intelligent species should unite peacefully under their leadership to create a prosperous, logical galaxy. If a human planet refuses to join them, the Tau will first try peaceful diplomacy, trade, and cultural integration. However, if diplomacy fails, they do not hesitate to unleash overwhelming, cold, calculated military force. Ultimately, that is what makes Warhammer 40,000 so profoundly captivating to millions of fans worldwide. There are no truly clear heroes, no guaranteed victories, and no safe havens to hide in. It is a massive, tragic universe where humanity is fighting a losing battle against time, cosmic horrors, and its own deep inner darkness. Yet, even when staring directly into the face of total, unavoidable annihilation, they stubbornly refuse to yield, fighting for every single inch of ground. Whether you choose to stand with the desperate, gothic defense of the Imperium of Man, embrace the chaotic madness of the Dark Gods, or join the alien swarms looking to consume the stars, the story is yours to explore. Welcome to the 42nd Millennium. Your journey into the grimdark has just begun. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this.